Now on Earth Undercover, they are among the most endangered animals on the planet, protected on paper, but not in the jungle.
They said about 9 orangutans were killed.
And when man-made fires force them to run, the only way out leads these 2 orangutans on a crash course toward extinction. Pongo pygmaeus, the people of the forest, directly translated from Indonesian. They're called orangutans. For decades, their population has dwindled. Their home, this forest, has been all but destroyed, chopped down by logging, and just recently devastated by fires. The orangutans have nowhere to go but out. Most were killed, speared by angry, frightened villagers. This mass slaughter left hundreds of starving orphans to fend for themselves. Like Bachi, found in this wooden box, starving underneath his mother's remains. Baruti Galdicus can't believe it. Since the 70s, she has dedicated her life to the orangutan. The recent slaughter is a painful blow. It was bad then, she says, but this is a nightmare. A nightmare that Hazrul Junaid witnessed firsthand. He works with Baruti in Borneo on a mutual mission to save the orangutan and their remaining forest home. Earth Undercover's Jack Severson and our team of hidden camera photographers brave the fires of Borneo to find and save the people of the forest.
When people think of Borneo, the mind almost always conjures up images of far away, of strange and mythical creatures, the likes of which can only be found in zoos or in the imagination. Creatures like Simoy and Angong, a pair of 4-year-old orangutans who are quickly becoming relics, links to our past, and foreboding symbols of the future for this fast disappearing creature. Angong and Simoy were born out here in the jungles of Kalimantan, spent nearly a year with their mothers until poachers found them hiding in the canopy and shot the mothers dead. They both became household pets in a nearby village, became accustomed to human things, and it looked for all the world as though they would never see their jungle home again. They were eventually found and brought to this sanctuary called Watereset, run by doctors from the Netherlands who care for smuggled and displaced orangutans. People here taught these 2, as they are teaching hundreds of other orangutans just like them, how to be wild again. It's a lengthy and sometimes hopeless process of rehabilitation.
I'd say the majority are in poor condition. Maybe about 10 to 20%. 10% are almost at death's doorsteps, and it takes a lot of intensive care to bring them through.
Many orangutans who come here have been exposed to human diseases like hepatitis, which, if left untreated, can later be passed on to orangutans in the wild. They collate and catalog every orangutan that comes through here on the way back home, in the hope that they'll never need to see them again, that once released, each orangutan will move on and repopulate the species.
The early days now look like, a piece of paradise remembered. Even though the physical conditions were very, very grueling.
It was 1970. Baruti Galdicus, one of the first Westerners in Paradise, had studied under the late Professor Leakey, a man who taught us all as much about ourselves as he did the world's remaining great apes. Baruti's colleagues, Jane Goodall and Diane Fossey, moved on to chimpanzees and gorillas, while she set off to Borneo to learn more about the people of the forest, the little-known orangutan, and why it was disappearing. Did you ever, in those early days, envision that it was going to be this bad?
No. I thought, what I thought was that, there was small-time orangutan trading and dealing. And I thought that basically what we were doing is we were kind of holding the fort until the 7th Cavalry got there. And the 7th Cavalry, of course, was going to be the Indonesian government. And then suddenly, In the last 10 years, we realized that we were the 7th Cavalry. It never occurred to me that these wonderful creatures would ever be in danger of extinction.
Hazrul Junaid on a mission in Borneo today trying to save the rainforest. He's here examining deforestation and illegal logging.
This province has always been in the hands of the interest of logging companies and now plantation companies for oil plantations and so on.
The logging companies, in other words, have a vested stake in making sure that that forest goes. The official policy here makes keeping orangutans illegal. They're protected animals which the government says belong in the trees. But it still issues logging permits to cut down trees in areas known to house orangutans. For every tree an orangutan might live in, we found a waiting chainsaw. And then there's illegal logging, so common, so accepted in Borneo that these people even allowed our cameras to film them breaking the law. We followed Hazrul for several days in Borneo while he searched the villages for stolen orangutans. Using hidden cameras, our investigation turned up nearly a dozen orangutans in the city of Palangkaraya alone. Everywhere we looked, we found them. Mostly they're pets, like Pinky here, playing with these barking dogs who think she's one of them. It's a cute image. She looks happy. But remember, Pinky's real mother would have likely died before she gave up her infant to humans. Which means 2 orangutans, not 1, gone from the jungle forever. But that makes them even more valuable to people like this man, our Borneo travel agent, who bought this 3-year-old female from a poacher for $50. We went to see a local government official to find out why all of this was happening under what is supposed to be a watchful Indonesian eye. He wasn't home, but his 2-year-old pet Ojek was, sitting in this tiny cage right in the official's front yard. Ojek is learning to accept the way the law works in Borneo. You realize by speaking out against all of this, by saying this is wrong, you're in effect challenging not only the Indonesian government, but President Suharto himself. Don't you think that may cause you some problems later on?
Yes, but I think Indonesia should learn from this year's catastrophe.
The catastrophe, something Hazrul always knew would happen. Fire. Man-made fire. And casualties. It was one of the strangest, most awful things we'd ever heard. Local Indonesian newspapers told of orangutans fleeing the jungle. They were running from forest fires caused by angry villagers and careless logging companies. There are accounts here of people shooting them, of using spears and even chainsaws, literally mowing hundreds of orangutans to the ground. It was too shocking, too bizarre to be true. But as we would soon find out, it was true. All of it. All of them, the orangutans, and no place safe to run. Few villagers had seen these apes outside of the jungle before. They saw this as both a threat and an opportunity.
Could you please try to call me back? It's quite urgent.
Hazrul called in reinforcements. Barita Manulong of the Worldwide Fund for Nature.
This is startling.
With our hidden cameras, we followed Barita and Hazrul on their search for answers and evidence. Our first clue was these 2 boys walking with rifles towards the forest fires. Something isn't right here. A check of their homes turned up a wooden crate hidden in the backyard. Inside it, we found this baby orangutan named Queenie. The owner tells us he accidentally scared Queenie's mom, that she abandoned her offspring, that he saved Queenie's life. Oh, and that Queenie is for sale. I mean, this guy tells us he just happened to scare the mother. You believe him?
No. I just heard from his son that actually he went with his friends on hunting, and well, they killed the mother orangutan. and they take the baby orangutan.
Later on, along a stretch of dirt road leading towards the jungle, this man tells us he's just seen a dead orangutan at a house nearby. Offers to show us the way. Sure enough, as we approach the home, we spot a dead orangutan skin drying on the roof, just a few hours old.
This is the worst, even worse than my worst scenario. Yes, it's very, very disturbing.
Even more disturbing, 4 more pelts, an entire family slaughtered. But we are all surprised to find a survivor in the carnage, this baby named Bachi. He'd been stuck inside a tiny box sheltered from the sun by his mother's dead body.
They said about 9 orangutan were killed by the owner of this house.
This lady tells us her husband had to kill the orangutans. They were eating his pineapple.
That's another weak argument, so we really have to explain to them that having these orangutans are much more valuable compared to the 1 or 2 pineapple trees.
They were confused, scared, probably starving. Orangutans don't usually venture from the jungle, not even for pineapple, and never with babies. They had to be desperate. So desperate, the man tells us, killing them wasn't easy. They wouldn't give up the baby. Barita has seen enough. Something must be done, and soon.
As quick as possible. We cannot afford to wait.